Hey guys, so I'm here today a day late and I'll explain later why I'm late. But I came to you guys today after watching Molly and Karina's video, and I just want to say I'm so excited for the topics that you guys brought up. I especially like the conversation that Karina had with her cousin Tatiana, and I love the way that you guys talked about being fourth generation from Colombia. You guys been fourth generation in America and just sort of like believing that you're a post-American dream in the sense that the American dream is no longer your high bar that you're sort of aspiring to be. And I think that's so interesting because even though I am born and raised in America, I also am sort of the byproduct of the great migration of African Americans from the south to the north. And both my grandparents came from the south. My grandmother came from Louisiana, my grandfather came from Tennessee. And just for them to move up toward the north and to end up in Detroit and to sort of like start the family and have my aunts and uncles and my mother, it's so interesting to me because they too sort of built their own empire, and they too have this whole legacy of greatness that sort of reached the threshold of the American dream. And something that they sort of told us about is the whole fact that, sorry, out of breath, but the whole fact that our goal was not to sort of get the economic side of the American dream, but because my grandparents, especially my grandmother, she was one who always told us the whole slogan, get that education because I couldn't. And that's something that always stays in the forefront of my mind whenever I speak of like wanting to get my PhD and wanting to go to college initially, and sort of like always reaching and looking for a program to go to for the summer back in high school, because I always feel like it's not only my duty, but it's also sort of like my end goal to have that education for my grandmother, who aspired to have an education even though she did so much without having, like, I guess what we would call the traditional schooling, but she was still able to build her own legacy, have her own housing complexes, have her own parking lot in Detroit near Tiger Stadium, and just like have all that and build all that for her for generations to come and for her children. And just to see how my grandparents prosper, and just to see how I'm living beyond that post-American dream, and how I'm just sort of like in that area, is so amazing to me, because I know that it's one of those legacies that not everybody gets to experience, and not everybody gets to grow up with grandparents, and to have grandparents who took the time to sort of explain just how hard they hit it, and just how much of my history in terms of African American history and just like my family history comes on, and how I'm standing on the shoulders of my grandparents, and my parents are standing on their shoulders, and I'm standing on theirs, and like it's a whole group of other people as well. And I hope I'm not going too outside the scope of what you and Tatiana were talking about, but I just found that really interesting, and it really made me think. Thing I forgot to talk about, and that is some books that are really good and really interesting, talking about the whole idea of just like the American dream, and how people who immigrated to America and how they sort of deal with being American, or living up to the American dream. I found two really good books, and the first one is The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri, and I actually reviewed this on my other channel, and it's really good. And if you guys haven't read it, as you can see, I loved it and I tabbed it, but this is definitely one book that sort of talks about what it means to be American, what it means to be of another culture, and sort of like take on the American characteristics. So if you guys haven't read it, definitely pick it up because it's really good. And it's a movie. The movie wasn't as good, but it's definitely a good book to look into. And then also, this one deals with the Indian culture and the family who comes over from India, and how they raise their children who become first generation in America, and how the children sort of get acclimated. But this is definitely a good book to look into. And then the second one I have is The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde by Junot Diaz, and this is an amazing book. And I also did a review of this over on my other channel as well. But this book is about a Dominican boy who's sort of like overweight, and he's not the typical Dominican man. I don't know if you guys have read it, but this one is pretty popular. And basically it sort of looks at how he embraces his Dominicanness and how he also is sort of like away from being Dominican because he's not the traditional Dominican male and he's not the traditional Spanish male. So definitely check out these two books if you ever get the chance, because they're really good and they're definitely, I know Molly enjoyed Americana, and that's definitely another one to look into if you want sort of like a Nigerian perspective of coming to America. But these three books, including Americana, are so good, and if you ever read them, I totally want to hear what you have to say about it. I hope that you enjoy taking for your friend's show, and I hope you come back and tell us all about the experience. And then also, Molly, I loved your video where you were doing the makeup and you were giving your life updates. And I'm so happy that I am coming to WeeklyCon, and I'm so happy because my best friend, I haven't seen her in 4 years, she's coming too, and we're all going to hopefully get to go to WeeklyCon and just have a good time. So I'm looking forward to that. And I can't wait for Kari, for you to be able to do your videos again, because this whole, that's what made me miss you guys. When I don't see your face, I'm always like, where's Carly Rae? An interesting story. I actually tried to go geocaching in my town, but I couldn't figure out the way that geocaching works. So I know where one is, but I just don't know how to sort of like look for it because I couldn't find the clues or anything. So hopefully I find them so I can sort of say, look Carly Rae, look what I did. But I hope you're all doing well, and I'm definitely going to talk to you guys next time on Thursday. But I'll see you guys later. Bye.